Welcome to Her Take with Dr. Mary. And today's take, I don't know. I feel like it's going to be a difficult one to swallow because of the world we live in now. But today's take is women make good followers. Walk with me. Walk with me. Um, how many ladies, young ladies out there would decide with their lives that, okay, I'm going to take a chastity vow. I'm going to hold myself onto marriage. You will find that this decision is made easier if you find yourself with a partner who has made the same vow or is invested in, fulfilling said vow. But the reverse will be the case. You will find yourself failing to keep this vow if you are with a guy who has no such investment. I'll give an example. I had this childhood friend, we were about four of us who grew up together. Uh, and amongst the four of us, even though she's the youngest, she has always been the one who had this like mommy vibes, right? She always had always been clear on what she wanted for her life. Even before, we started taking this whole Jesus thing seriously. She started way before us, anyways. But even before she understood what it really meant to be a Christian, she just always wanted to live this, you know, hold myself onto marriage, live this holy life. Even if she didn't know if it was for God or anything, but she sure made that vow. And we, when we're teenagers and we started exploring with relationships, one day she opens up to us that at the time she was dating this guy who was a dancer. He used to dance for P Square. And this guy, obviously, somebody who is a dancer, you can tell that he was sleek, he was fine, somebody that's you cannot just easily turn down on if he tries to seduce you. You cannot just easily turn down if he tries to seduce you. Anyways, she opens up to us that more. God saved her. If not for God, that the way she ran out of there, because she and a guy were just, getting down, doing some sort of intimate things. And she didn't know when she was about to let herself go. She ran away from there. And obviously, she had to break up the relationship because she realized that, I continue this relationship, that vow I kept, I said I want to keep myself to marriage. It will not work. It will not I'll also give myself as an example. Now, this is me who has given herself giving her life to Christ. Spirit-filled Mary, right? Anyways, I'll still a baby Christian, so don't judge me. We listen, we don't judge, Abby. Don't judge me. I was still a baby Christian. And, when I lived in the world, I lived in the world. So obviously, when I gave my life to Christ, there was a lot of unlearning that I had to do, right? And as God willed, I found myself back in a relationship with the last person I dated whilst I was still in the world, who happens to be my husband now. Anyways, that's a story for another day. But anyways, we both found Christ. We decided to start the relationship in a new light. We had made up our mind that we wanted to keep ourselves to marriage, keep the bed undefiled, right? And I think it was barely 2 months into the relationship. Normally, to do this, there were boundaries that were set. But we both found ourselves in a location where we didn't really have the opportunity to hang out outside. So he had come to visit me. And I kid you not, I did not know when the old Mary took over and my top was off. If you see the way this man ran out of there. Now imagine that I was with a guy who did not deem his relationship with God that consecrated for him to not defile me. Even though he had done it, it's not as if, we had seen each other, we have seen everything there is to see. So if he really wanted to take advantage of me in that moment, he could have easily done so. Many ladies are in relationships today that they know is not good for them. They know it's not good for them. But it's so difficult to just leave. It's so difficult to leave. I hope you are following the train of thought here, because how did I begin? I said women make good followers. It's so difficult for them to leave. They'll be waiting for the man to either end the relationship or for some miracle to happen where he changes. Because it is very difficult for women, especially when emotions are involved. It is very difficult for women to take a big decision and to stick with it. When a guy has decided to leave a relationship, mm, it doesn't take much for him to come to that decision. And when he does come to that decision, he's done. But most women, you will find that they will take the decision, or and they will keep going back to it, or they will keep dilly-dallying around the power, the willpower to just make that decision. They will keep finding all sorts of excuses why they shouldn't leave or walk out of that relationship. All of this is because we make good followers. Now, another example. How many times have we heard of women who keep returning to toxic relationships compared to men? How many? Think about it. Compared to men. Most of the times, we hear stories like this when it has to do with the woman. You can see that this man is hitting her. She's going through all sorts of abuse, but she just can't take it. She just can't get that willpower within herself to leave. She just can't do it. And it's why you see a lot of the times, in relationships, there's this thing that always happens where you're having a heated argument and it's so easy for you to just blurt out, I'm done with this relationship. I'm done. I can't do this again. Most of the time, it's women that do that. Because if a guy should say that, I remember then in my past relationship, when I was still in the world with this same guy, obviously, that was when I knew he was strong-willed. Because we would have arguments and I'll be like, I'm done with this relationship. I'm so done. I'm done with this. I can't do this anymore. And he would just be looking at me. And he would say things like, see, don't throw that word out lightly. Because the day I would agree with you and I say, yes, we are done. If I have to cut myself every day not to see you, because I know I like you very much, but if I have to cut myself every day not to see you, I would do it. And one day, it was a reality. Because when we now, as Christians, gave our life to Christ, obviously, there was no way that relationship it would not. We tried, though. We tried to do it God's way and start afresh. But he was growing at such a fast pace. Such a fast pace. And I was still trying to come up because, let me be sincere, I started to do the God thing because of him at first. So it was as if he was dragging me, And one day, after he had had his own fights with God, as usual, we're having our arguments. And I said, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And he agreed with me and said, okay. And that was it. That was it. There was no crying. There was no begging that made him change his mind. That was it. But me, I'm the one that said it though. Yeah, I'm done. But I was still the one that was begging him and saying, please. It took a while for me to get over him. Because there's something that we women need to understand. That our emotions, which can be a strength in its own right, and can be useful in its own right, is what makes us good followers. And that's why it's important that before you choose the man that you decide to follow, before you are overwhelmed with emotions, you open your eyes very well to choose the man that you decide to lead you. To make sure that this man is leading you in the way that you desire, which hopefully, speaking to my Christians, my saints in the house, which hopefully is God's way, before you are even overwhelmed with emotions. And I think I need to point this out here, that the following now, God intended that the following is to your husband. You are following your husband, not just any man. I need to point that out here. I need to point that out, that you are following your husband, because this was a structure that God created, intending to create the family unit. It was a structure that was built for the family unit, which is also the building block of the society. So it's also important to note that before you choose who to follow, you have also learned the act of following God's voice. My Christian sisters, you have also learned the act of following God's voice. That way, he will lead you and put you in the hands of his own son, who has also learned the act of following him. Because as you're following, you're ensuring that the person that is leading you on the right path. So you're following a man who is also following God. Because I know some people will come at me, you cannot go follow the one who will carry me go where I don't know. You must have learned the act of following God. As usual, I would have a scripture for every episode, and I want to read 1 Timothy 2 verse 14. That says, and Adam was not deceived but the woman was deceived and became a transgressor. If you go and read that whole passage, it talks about the importance of, women. But I just wanted to point this out, that here we see God speaking through the Apostle Paul. His desire to not see men give up their authority to lead, because that was what happened. Adam allowed Eve to lead him in the garden. And this is the result. We are all experiencing the outcome of that. So there was the outcome of positions being switched, where the leader submitted his desire or submitted to the woman who was supposed to be following him, and he was instead following suit and eating the fruits that she gave him, thus taking the unnatural path. And we see where that led to. Whether we know this or not, speaking to my women, my fellow ladies now, you are always being led by something. As you go through your day to day, you are being led by something. Whether it's your emotions, whether it's God, whether it's your husband, you are being led by something. And if you are being led by your emotions, you should know that that is also being influenced by your environment. So whether you choose to agree or whether you choose to admit it or not, you are being led by something. You are following something. So there is so much to unpack on this topic, and I'm definitely going to spread this conversation out in other videos. But I know that in the current world we live in, it is so easy to see this take as a weakness, to see the fact that we make good followers as a weakness. But what if we choose to see it in this light? That a good man can bring a sense of direction and meaning to the many ideas that we tend to have. Just the same way you as a woman can bring color and organization to a man's life. That way it's easier to settle in our roles. We don't find ourselves struggling and battling to usurp authority or to take positions that we don't naturally fit in. That way is easier. It's easier. We have many examples of women who currently are sitting or have sat in positions of power who will tell you that they are where they are today as a result of the influence of their husbands. So just take a moment, pause and think about this, what I'm saying here. I know it's a difficult pill to swallow, but if you really, really think about it, we were built to be followers. It is not a weakness. It is just something, a structure that was built to ensure that our society comes out in the way that God intended to it. It's just a structure that brings beauty to life. Thank you once again for listening to me. See you in my next video. Bye.